Dr. Adrian Cole stood in front of the ornate mirror inside the exclusive penthouse suite of the Grande Hotel. The city skyline glittered through the panoramic windows behind him. Today was his wedding day, and everyone told him he should feel like the luckiest man in the world. Yet, a persistent heaviness weighed on his heart. "Adrian, you look paler than your starched collar," came the familiar voice of his best friend, Dr. Ezra Blake. Ezra adjusted his own tie and glanced at Adrian. "You're about to marry Amira West. She's the daughter of the hospital board chairman, for goodness sake. Why do you look like you're heading to an execution?" Adrian attempted a wry smile. "Nerves, I guess," he said, though even he didn't believe that. There was an unsettling feeling he couldn't quite articulate. His mother, Martha Cole, had orchestrated much of this wedding, right down to the guests and the theme. Adrian couldn't shake the sensation that today belonged to everyone else but him. In the hallway, voices echoed, florists, caterers, photographers. Everything seemed meticulously choreographed. Taking a deep breath, Adrian tried to remind himself of his blessings. He was a millionaire surgeon at only 30, admired by peers and patients alike. He was marrying into a prominent family. By all accounts, his life was perfect. "Time to meet the officiant," Ezra said, noticing Adrian's face tighten. He patted Adrian on the back. "Come on, buddy. Let's get this show on the road." Outside, the grand ballroom shimmered under crystal chandeliers. Rows of gold-backed chairs and elegantly dressed guests waited for the bride. Adrian's mother fussed over last-minute details, ensuring the press photographers got her best side. "You see? Everything is in place," Martha said, approaching her son. Her eyes shone with cold pride. "After this wedding, you'll be unstoppable." Adrian nodded, but the feeling of an unknown shadow over his heart remained. Just as the music was about to start, his phone buzzed in his pocket. He glanced down at the screen. A single message from Ezra's phone number appeared, "Emergency call. Pick up now." Confusion knit Adrian's brow. Why would Ezra message him when Ezra was physically right there? Another buzz came almost immediately. Adrian briefly stepped to the side, heart pounding, and answered. "Adrian, it's Leila," came a desperate whisper on the other end. His entire body went rigid. Leila Morgan. The name of the one woman who had vanished from his life 5 years ago without explanation. The heartbreak he had buried threatened to surface in an instant. Her voice trembled. "I'm sorry to call, but I need help. She cut off for a moment. "My son is sick. He's in critical condition at St. Adelaide's Hospital." Adrian's mind spun. He hadn't seen or heard from Leila in half a decade. Now, on his wedding day, she called him out of the blue with a plea for help? "Leila, he glanced at the poised guests in the ballroom, at the string quartet ready to begin, and at his mother fussing. He swallowed. Are you okay?" "I'm not asking for me," Leila said, her voice breaking. "I'm asking for him." In the background, a child's labored breathing and the frantic beeping of medical machines came through. Adrian's chest felt tight. A child. She had a child. He had so many questions, but the line went dead before he could say more. Adrian stood there, phone in hand, as the organist began the wedding processional. The day that was supposed to define his life had taken a sudden, impossible turn, and something told him he would never be the same again. 5 minutes after that cryptic conversation, Adrian found himself gripping the nearest marble column for support. He hadn't returned to his spot at the altar. The wedding planner looked at him with confusion from across the room. Ezra approached, noticing the tension in Adrian's face. "What happened?" he asked, voice hushed so as not to alert the guests. "That call," Adrian whispered. "Leila. She just called me from your phone. She said her son is in critical condition at St. Adelaide's." Ezra blinked in surprise. "My phone?" I stepped away to check on the catering staff for a moment. Someone must have grabbed my phone. Wait, Leila Morgan? That Leila? Adrian nodded, clenching his jaw. Memories flooded back, the late-night study sessions with Leila at med school, the deep conversations about starting a life together, and the heartbreak when she disappeared without a trace. He'd never discovered the reason for her abrupt departure. The wedding processional music drew closer to a crescendo, signaling that Amira was about to enter. Adrian's mother sent him a pointed look from across the aisle, her face contorting in silent admonishment. "Where are you?" Ezra touched Adrian's shoulder gently. "We can get someone else to handle it. Call an ambulance or a specialist. You're getting married in less than a minute." Adrian's phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from an unknown number. "Noah's condition is deteriorating. If you can help, come quickly." Noah. Adrian read the name again and again. Something twisted in his gut. He knew he couldn't ignore this. His medical instincts and personal history with Leila tore him away from any sense of normalcy he had left. Looking up, he saw Amira begin her walk down the aisle, a vision in a designer gown. She paused in confusion when she realized Adrian wasn't standing where he should be. The guests murmured. Cameras flashed anxiously. He met Ezra's eyes, inhaled sharply, and whispered, "I have to go." Ezra grabbed his arm. "Are you sure, man? This is your wedding day." Adrian's eyes hardened with resolve. "If there's even a chance I can save a child's life," he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Ezra nodded, stepping aside. Amid the gasps and flurry of confused whispers, Adrian strode out of the ballroom, ignoring the outraged call of his mother behind him. He could almost hear the rumor mill revving into high gear. Why would the groom leave his own wedding? But none of that mattered now. All that mattered was the call for help, the voice of a woman he once loved, and the life of a child in danger. St. Adelaide's Hospital was a modest building tucked away in one of the older parts of the city. Adrian navigated through the congested streets, heart hammering. Outside, he practically sprinted through the automatic doors. He found himself in the pediatric wing, scanning the rooms frantically until he spotted Leila Morgan, leaning against a wall with tears in her eyes. She looked thinner, paler, and far more fragile than the vibrant woman he remembered. Anxiety consumed her face. "Adrian," she said when she saw him. Emotions warred in her eyes, relief, regret, possibly fear. He tried to calm his racing heart. "Leila," he managed to say, stepping forward. "You said your son." Leila's eyes darted to the open door behind her. Adrian followed her gaze. On a small hospital bed lay a boy, about 4 or 5 years old, with an IV drip and an oxygen mask. The boy's chest rose and fell fitfully, like he was struggling to breathe even with the machine's help. "His name is Noah," Leila said, voice choking on tears. Adrian's breath caught. "Noah. What's going on?" "They suspect a rare heart complication. He keeps having episodes where he can't breathe. He's gotten worse in the last 48 hours. Leila swallowed hard, stepping away so Adrian could see the child clearly. As Adrian approached the bed, his doctor's instincts took over. But beneath the clinical observation, pale skin, weak pulse, shallow breathing, there was something else. The curve of the boy's jaw, the slight dimple in his chin. Something that made the hair on the back of Adrian's neck stand on end. "Noah's father," Adrian began, feeling his words falter. Leila turned to him, tears brimming. "Adrian," she whispered, "I never told you because I was scared. Because of your mother. Because of everything. Noah is yours." The words hit Adrian like a physical blow. Time slowed. The hospital corridor's murmur faded. All he could hear was his own heart pounding. He stared at Noah, the shape of the boy's eyes a reflection of his own. Questions tumbled through his mind. Why didn't she tell me? Why now? Why today, of all days? The beep of the heart monitor broke the silence, reminding Adrian that the child needed help immediately. His personal turmoil would have to wait. "Let me see the charts," Adrian said, voice steadier than he felt. "We'll do whatever we can." Leila handed him the medical file. "They're saying he might need a specialized procedure. One only an advanced pediatric cardiothoracic surgeon could handle. But those surgeons are in short supply, and we don't have time. Adrian, I'm sorry to put this on you. I didn't know where else to turn." He exhaled. "It's okay. We'll figure this out." Noah's eyelids fluttered open briefly. For a split second, Adrian's eyes met his son's, and everything else faded away. While Adrian worked closely with the on-call pediatric team, performing every test possible to stabilize Noah, he couldn't stop his mind from reeling. He had abandoned Amira at the altar. He was the gossip of the hour. His phone rang incessantly, calls from his mother, from the hospital board members, even from tabloids sniffing out a scandal. In between scans, Adrian stepped into the hallway to catch his breath. Suddenly, his phone vibrated again. This time, the name on the screen made his heart sink. "Amira." Adrian hesitated, then answered. "Amira." Her voice was clipped. "I waited for you, Adrian." In front of hundreds of people, cameras, news outlets. "Where are you?" He rubbed the back of his neck, feeling drained. "I'm at St. Adelaide's Hospital. Something came up. A medical emergency." "On our wedding day?" she snapped. The fury in her tone was barely contained. "Was it worth humiliating me, humiliating my father, humiliating the entire West family name?" Adrian opened his mouth, but she cut him off. "Let's be honest here, this has something to do with that woman, doesn't it?" she accused, venom lacing her voice. "I heard you whispering a name before you ran out. Is it Leila Morgan?" Adrian felt the sting of truth. "Amira, this is more complicated than you think. I can't just ignore a child who's..." Her voice turned icy. "If you leave me at the altar for that woman, for her child, you better be prepared for the consequences. You think my father will just let you walk away from me, from the hospital board, from everything we have worked so hard to build? That child is..." Adrian paused, uncertain how much to reveal. A slight silence crackled on the line. "Is what, Adrian?" Amira demanded. He sighed, not ready to unload this bombshell on her yet. "He's very sick, and it was an emergency. Look, I'll talk to you soon." He ended the call. His heart hammered against his ribs. Even though he knew he did the right thing by coming here, he also knew the West family influence was vast. He'd effectively declared war on them with his impulsive choice. "Adrian," came a small voice from behind him. Leila stood there, eyes full of quiet concern. Noah's test results just came back. He clenched his jaw, pushing aside the swirl of personal chaos. Focus on Noah, he reminded himself. The rest would have to wait. Little did he know, Amira's next moves were already being set in motion, ones that could jeopardize not just his career but the life he was fighting so hard to save. 5 years ago, Adrian Cole was not the polished millionaire surgeon he was today. He was a passionate medical student with disheveled hair and rumpled scrubs, spending long nights in the library devouring textbooks. He first met Leila Morgan during a volunteer shift at a free clinic. She was a final-year nursing student, steadfast, kind, and never hesitated to stay longer to comfort frightened patients. One particular night, after they helped a homeless man suffering from pneumonia, they found themselves outside the clinic at midnight. A soft drizzle soaked the pavement, and Leila was shivering in her thin jacket. Adrian slipped his own coat over her shoulders. Their eyes met under the flickering streetlight, and that single moment was enough to spark something that neither could resist. They spent the following months studying together, daydreaming about opening a small practice to serve underserved communities. They were inseparable, so in love that even the most mundane tasks felt like grand adventures. Adrian had never been more certain of anything in his life. One evening, he introduced her to his mother, Martha Cole. From the start, Martha wore a polite but cold smile toward Leila. At dinner, she subtly belittled Leila's background, her scholarship status, and her lack of family connections. Adrian brushed it off at the time, reassuring Leila that his mother was simply protective. But as their relationship grew more serious, Martha's interference turned more overt. She pressured Adrian to focus on forging influential relationships at the hospital, to attend lavish galas where wealthy donors and board members paraded their daughters around him. He always refused, choosing Leila's side. Then, during their final semester of med school, something changed. Leila disappeared. Overnight, she stopped answering his calls, withdrew from her courses, and vanished from the city. Adrian was devastated, searching everywhere for her. His mother offered only a dismissive shrug. "She probably found someone else," Martha said. "You don't need that kind of distraction." Adrian refused to believe it, but with time and an increasing workload, he forced himself to move on. Or so he thought. Now, all those buried emotions were alive and raw again, in a hospital corridor, with the knowledge that they shared a son he never knew existed. Noah's heart condition required a flurry of specialized tests, and Adrian was in and out of the pediatric wing all day. It wasn't until late evening, after the specialists had consulted on the best approach, that Adrian and Leila finally found a moment to talk. They sat in a deserted waiting area, the fluorescent lights buzzing above them. Leila held a paper cup of stale coffee, her hands trembling. Adrian's eyes never left her face. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked quietly. 5 years, Leila. I had no idea I had a son. Leila lowered her eyes. "Do you think I wanted this?" Her voice cracked. "I tried to tell you in the beginning. But after your mother..." Adrian's breath caught. "My mother? What did she do?" Leila hesitated. "I was a scholarship student. I had no money, no connections. And then I found out I was pregnant. I wanted to tell you, but your mother somehow intercepted my messages. I don't even know how she got access to my phone. Then she cornered me one day." Tears filled her eyes at the memory. "She threatened me, Adrian. Threatened to ruin my career, my life. She said no one would believe me. She even had a lawyer friend draft up a non-disclosure agreement." Adrian's eyes burned with anger. "That's insane. Why would she do that?" "She believed I was trying to trap you," Leila whispered, wiping away tears. "She said your future was too bright to be derailed by a child out of wedlock. She offered me a payout to disappear. I refused, but she was relentless." A quiet sob escaped her. "I was scared. I had no resources to fight her. So I ran. I wanted to keep our baby safe from her threats." Adrian's mind reeled. The mother he idolized had orchestrated this? He remembered Martha's condescending remarks about small people with big ambitions. But he never imagined she'd go this far. "I'm sorry, Adrian," Leila whispered, voice trembling. "I tried so hard to protect Noah, but now he's so sick, and I had no one else to turn to. I thought you deserved to know." Adrian's chest felt tight, guilt and fury mingling. He wrapped his arm around Leila's shoulders, giving her a moment of comfort. "We'll fix this," he said gently, though he wasn't sure how. "First, we focus on Noah. Then I deal with my mother." In that silent waiting room, the weight of their untold story pressed heavy upon them. Neither noticed that a silent figure had stepped away from the doorway, Amira West, who had overheard just enough to sharpen her hidden agenda. By the next morning, Noah's condition stabilized slightly, thanks to emergency medication and oxygen therapy. But the doctors confirmed he had a rare congenital heart defect that had gone undetected. He needed a specialized surgical procedure soon, or his long-term prognosis would be grim. Adrian worked tirelessly, consulting with the country's leading pediatric cardiologists by phone. The earliest any top specialist could arrive was in a week, a timeline Noah might not survive without intervention. Ezra arrived mid-morning, still dressed in the tuxedo from the wedding day. His tie was undone, and exhaustion lined his face. He pulled Adrian aside in the corridor. "Dude, the entire city is talking about you. About how you ran out on your own wedding. Articles, tabloids, rumors, everything." Adrian huffed. "I have bigger concerns right now, Ezra." Ezra glanced through the glass panel into Noah's room. "Is that?" Adrian nodded, voice husky. "My son." Ezra's eyes widened. Wow." He steadied himself. "Look, I might be able to help. I know a pediatric cardiothoracic surgeon in Chicago, an old colleague from residency. Let me see if I can get him here quicker." While they talked, the hospital's head nurse approached. "Dr. Cole, there's an urgent phone call for you." "Someone from the board." Adrian sighed. "Right. I'm guessing that's Amira's father." He took the call in a small administrative office. As expected, it was James West, the chairman of the hospital board. His voice was laced with quiet fury. "Dr. Cole, I hear you abandoned my daughter on your wedding day to play hero doctor at a community hospital." Adrian bristled. "Chairman West, I don't care about your excuses. You humiliated Amira and my family, and you're tarnishing the hospital's reputation. If you have any sense left, you'll come to our family estate this evening and make amends." Adrian's jaw clenched. "A child's life is at stake." "Your career is at stake," West snapped back. "I control your surgical privileges at half the hospitals in this region. Think carefully about the choices you make, Dr. Cole." Adrian hung up, anger coursing through him. Once, such a threat would have terrified him. But looking at Noah lying in that hospital bed changed everything. He would not abandon his son, no matter the cost. Later that afternoon, Noah had a sudden downturn. His oxygen saturation plummeted, and he began gasping for breath. Nurses rushed in, alarms blaring. Adrian sprinted into the room, adrenaline surging. "I need 1 milligram of epinephrine, stat," he shouted. Nurses scrambled to comply. Leila stood in a corner, tears streaming down her face, watching in helpless terror. Adrian worked with the team seamlessly, a brilliant surgeon in his element. Although he specialized in adult cases, his fundamental skills still applied. He intubated Noah under the watchful eyes of the pediatric team, hoping to stabilize his breathing. At one point, Noah's eyes fluttered open. In those hazel depths, Adrian saw a reflection of his own fear as well as the boy's innocence. The moment was fleeting, but it felt monumental. "He's your son," Adrian reminded himself. "Fight for him." Amid the chaos, a figure in a designer skirt and crisp blouse stepped into the emergency room. It was Amira, flanked by 2 hospital security guards, evidently using her influence to gain access. Her eyes blazed with jealousy and indignation as she took in the scene, Adrian at Leila's side, working desperately to save a little boy who was the spitting image of him. "This is ridiculous," Amira hissed, ignoring hospital protocol for a sterile environment. "What are you even doing here, Adrian?" Adrian barely spared her a glance. "I'm busy saving a life, Amira," he ground out, not missing a beat in his medical instructions. She stepped closer, crossing her arms. "A random child's life, or so you claim. The media is having a field day, Adrian. My father is furious. You need to leave this fiasco behind and fix what you've broken." Leila, her eyes locked on Noah, finally turned. "Could you please keep your voice down? This is a critical moment." Amira scoffed. "Who are you to wait? You're the one who crashed my wedding day." Ezra, who had just entered the room, quickly escorted Amira back to the hallway. "Not now," he hissed. Can't you see a child is in crisis? Inside, the tension crackled like a live wire. Noah's stats stabilized inch by inch under Adrian's care. When it was finally over, the boy's breathing eased. Adrian sank into a chair, relief and exhaustion washing over him. He glanced over at Leila, whose tear-streaked face spoke volumes of gratitude. In the hallway, Amira's furious voice echoed once more before she stormed out with her security entourage, the door slamming behind her. Even at a distance, Adrian could sense she was plotting her next move, one that would undoubtedly make his life even more complicated. 2 days later, after countless tests, it became clear that Noah needed a specialized surgery soon. Dr. Stevens, a visiting pediatric cardiologist, discussed options with Adrian. It's a tricky procedure, Dr. Stevens noted. But I'm confident with the right team, we can do it here. The question is, do we have official paternal consent? Adrian glanced at Leila, who had grown increasingly protective whenever officials asked about the father's identity. She was tired of bureaucratic red tape and more than a little cautious about revealing the truth, especially after what had happened with Martha Cole in the past. But for the surgery, they needed full parental permissions, and the staff had begun to suspect a relation between Adrian and Noah based on appearances alone. Whispers circled in the hospital corridors. Leila finally nodded. Yes, she said quietly. Adrian is his father. Yet hospital protocol demanded irrefutable proof. A DNA test was arranged immediately. A quick swab of Adrian's cheek and a sample from Noah were sent to the lab. It came back positive that same evening. Adrian stared at the lab report, 99.9% probability of paternity. A surge of mixed emotions tightened his throat, rage at the years stolen from him, regret for not fighting harder to find Leila, but most of all, a fierce paternal love that made him want to protect Noah at all costs. He found Leila in a corner of the waiting room, her arms wrapped around her knees. Carefully, he sat beside her, the test results in hand. She looked at the paper, then up at him. I'm sorry it took so long for you to know, Leila murmured. But now he has you. That's what matters, right? Adrian placed a hand over hers. I'll do whatever it takes to make sure Noah gets better. From now on, he's my responsibility too. The raw vulnerability in both their faces was palpable. There, in the stark hospital light, their broken pieces began to align again, held together by their love for a little boy named Noah, and the unwavering power of DNA that didn't lie. As soon as the hospital staff confirmed Adrian's paternity, the news spread like wildfire. The next morning, Adrian found himself cornered by paparazzi in the hospital parking lot. Cameras flashed, and reporters shouted over each other, Dr. Cole, is it true you have an illegitimate child? Did you abandon the West family for your ex? Security guards guided Adrian inside, but not before one particularly brazen reporter shouted, when's the wedding rescheduled, Doc? Inside, Amira was waiting for him outside the pediatric wing, her arms crossed like a fortress. Her jaw was tight, and her eyes flickered with a steely determination that unnerved him. She wasted no time. We need to talk. Now. Adrian gestured for her to follow him into a vacant consultation room. He shut the door, crossing his arms defensively. I'm listening. Amira took a slow breath, as though rehearsing her speech. My father and I have decided to offer you a lifeline. We'll brush this entire fiasco under the rug, spin it as a misunderstanding. You'll marry me, publicly commit to the West family, and continue your rise in the medical world. In return, we make sure your career remains intact. Adrian's eyes narrowed. And Leila? And Noah? She let out a bitter laugh. That woman can deal with her life the way she always has. As for the child, we can arrange some hush money, or a private medical care trust if you prefer. But he's not part of your future. Not publicly. It's that simple. Adrian felt a coldness seep into his bones. You're asking me to abandon my son? You can call it whatever you want. The hospital board is already up in arms over your behavior. My father wants to salvage the situation. This is your one chance to stay on top. If you choose them, she clenched her teeth. Then you can watch your entire career, the future your mother worked so hard to build, evaporate. For a long moment, Adrian stared at her, feeling as though he were seeing her for the first time. This was not the gentle fiancé he had courted. This was someone else, someone cunning and ruthless. He exhaled, a wave of calm resolve washing over him. Amira, if you think there's any universe in which I would turn my back on my sick child, then you don't know me at all. She let out a harsh scoff. You'll regret it. Adrian held her gaze. I might regret a lot of things in life. But taking care of my son won't ever be one of them. With that, she stormed out, slamming the door behind her. Adrian closed his eyes, bracing himself for the battle that was surely coming, determined that this time he wouldn't let fear or manipulation stand between him and the child he'd just found. That afternoon, Leila was rummaging through Noah's hospital bag for his favorite plush toy when she found an unmarked envelope tucked away. Thinking it might be a medical bill or some old paperwork, she opened it. What she found inside made her heart pound in her ears. It was a letter. The handwriting was unmistakable, Martha Cole, Adrian's mother. The date on the letter was from 4 years ago, about a year after Noah's birth. Leila's eyes scanned the words. Leila. I'm only going to say this once. If you so much as breathe a word about your child's paternity, you will regret it. You don't belong in Adrian's world, and neither does your mistake of a child. I have resources that you can't begin to imagine. If you care about that boy's future, you'll stay far away from Adrian and me. Martha Cole. A mix of fear, anger, and betrayal coursed through Leila. She knew Martha had threatened her, but seeing the words in black and white years later was like opening an old wound. She realized that Martha had always known about Noah and had actively worked to keep him hidden from Adrian. Footsteps approached, and Adrian entered the room, carrying a small tray of hospital food. Hey, I managed to get you something slightly edible from the cafeteria, he said, trying a small smile. Leila held out the letter, her hand shaking. I found this. It's from your mother. He froze, reading the contents. His face went pale, and then anger contorted his features. She knew, he whispered. All this time. She never told me. Leila's eyes brimmed with tears. She threatened me, Adrian. She threatened Noah. Adrian set the tray down, fists clenched. He felt something inside him snap, the last thread of loyalty he had toward his mother was gone. We're going to confront her, he said. She owes us both an explanation. In that moment, Adrian's resolve hardened, no more secrets. No more lies. He would face Martha and uncover the full extent of her interference, no matter the cost. The hospital allowed Noah a brief break from monitors, so he was moved to a private room where he could rest more comfortably. Adrian and Leila sat on either side of his bed, softly talking to him while he drifted in and out of sleep. Ezra entered quietly, shutting the door behind him. How's he doing? Stable for now, Adrian replied, voice weary. But we can't delay the surgery much longer. Ezra nodded, pulling out his phone to check messages. I managed to get Dr. Tenbrook from Chicago to come early. He can be here the day after tomorrow to perform the procedure with you assisting. Relief washed over Adrian. That's good news. Leila smiled faintly, stroking Noah's hair. Thank you, she whispered. Both of you. Ezra glanced hesitantly at Adrian. Look, I came to warn you, the hospital board is holding an emergency meeting tomorrow. Rumor has it they want to suspend you. Something about moral turpitude and bringing negative press to the hospital. Adrian set his jaw. So they're going after my license? Ezra shrugged. Not yet. But they might if the pressure from West and your mother keeps building. Leila's face paled. They can do that? Even if you're just trying to save your son? Ezra exhaled. Politics is brutal, especially in this city's elite circles. They'll use any angle to protect their reputation. For a moment, the gravity of Adrian's situation sank in. He was about to lose everything, his prestigious position, his career, the stability he had spent years building, because he chose blood over vows. But as he looked at Noah's small form on the bed, he knew there was no choice at all. No matter what happens, Adrian said firmly, I'm staying. I won't abandon my son. Leila reached across the bed, placing her hand over his. They shared a small, resolute nod. Together, they would face the consequences, even if it meant going up against the most powerful people in their world. That evening, a storm battered the city. Rain lashed the windows of St. Adelaide's, and thunder rumbled ominously. Inside Noah's room, the machines beeped more frequently. The child woke with labored breaths around midnight, clutching his chest. Leila bolted upright from the chair where she dozed, panic flaring in her eyes. Noah? Noah, sweetie, are you okay? Adrian rushed in, checking vitals. His heartbeat is irregular, he muttered. We need a crash cart, stat. Nurses arrived, hooking up additional monitors. Noah's oxygen levels dipped dangerously low, his small body shaking from the strain. Adrian's medical training warred with his parental instincts, sending him into hyperfocus. He administered a fast-acting medication to stabilize the arrhythmia, monitoring the heart monitor with eagle eyes. Minutes felt like hours as they waited, watching the lines on the screen dance unpredictably. Finally, Noah's heart rate steadied, though it was still weaker than normal. Adrian wiped sweat from his brow, the tension in his body refusing to dissipate. Leila clung to Noah's hand, tears silently streaking her cheeks. The reality was sobering. Noah might not survive if they waited much longer. This complex surgery had to happen as soon as possible. We can't wait for Dr. Tenbrook, Adrian declared, turning to the on-call cardiologist. I have experience assisting with pediatric surgeries. We might need to do this ourselves. The cardiologist hesitated. It's too risky without a fully certified pediatric surgeon. But, if his condition declines again, we might not have a choice. Leila stared at the doctor, then at Adrian, fear etched into every line of her face. If it comes down to it, she whispered, voice shaking, please try. Do everything you can. Adrian nodded, determination shining in his eyes. He gently brushed a hand over Noah's hair, a silent vow that he would not lose his son, no matter what obstacles lay ahead. The next morning, under a sky still darkened by storm clouds, Adrian made his way to the hospital's small boardroom. He had been summoned by the administrative head, no doubt at the behest of James West and possibly his mother. He found the board seated around a polished mahogany table. Amira was there, perched on her father's right side. Martha Cole was on the left, her expression pinched and disapproving. Dr. Cole, began Dr. Parsons, the board chair. We've called this meeting to address recent events that have cast our hospital in a negative light. Adrian inclined his head politely. I'm aware of the rumors and the media attention. James West leaned forward, fingers steepled. We are considering disciplinary measures. This hospital does not condone reckless behavior that disrupts critical alliances, nor do we allow personal matters to overshadow professional responsibilities. Personal matters? Adrian's voice tightened. I left my wedding because I was called to a medical emergency involving my own child. Martha cleared her throat, her voice chilling. Couldn't any other doctor have handled this? Did you need to abandon an important social event and humiliate the West family? Rage twisted in Adrian's chest. He handed over Noah's medical records. Yes, I did. He needed me. And if you, Mother, had told me the truth from the start, we wouldn't be in this mess. A gasp rippled through the room. Martha's lips thinned. You can't pin your poor choices on me, she hissed. James West tapped the table. Let's keep this civil. Dr. Cole, we have a proposition. Sign a statement saying you acted impulsively and apologize to our hospital community. We want you to reaffirm your commitment to our institution And you want me to disown my son? Adrian asked bitterly. Amira's gaze flickered, but she remained silent. Dr. Parsons cleared his throat. It's not about disowning anyone. It's about priorities. You're a key figure here, Dr. Cole. The board can't afford controversy. Adrian slammed his hand on the table. My only priority right now is saving my child's life. He rose, voice tight with indignation. If you want my resignation, take it. But I won't lie about my son or apologize for saving him. If that means losing my position, so be it. Silence fell, broken only by the rain tapping on the boardroom windows. Without another word, Adrian stalked out, leaving the stunned faces of the board behind him. Returning from the boardroom, Adrian expected to find Leila with Noah. Instead, he discovered chaos near the hospital's entrance. An officer stood next to Leila, who looked distraught, handcuffs on her wrists. Adrian's heart lurched. What's going on? He demanded, rushing toward them. The officer held up a warrant. Leila Morgan, you're under arrest for suspected theft of medical funds. There's evidence you tampered with charity donations at this hospital. Leila's eyes bulged with confusion. What? I never. Why would I steal money? I'm not even. She glanced desperately at Adrian. I don't understand what's happening. Wait, this is insane, Adrian barked. She's been in the pediatric ward with her son the whole time. Who's accusing her? The officer looked uncomfortable. We received an anonymous tip. Bank accounts under her name show large deposits that match missing funds from the hospital's charity wing. Leila's face went white. I never, those deposits. They're from scholarships, a small inheritance from my aunt last year, and some insurance payouts. I can explain. But the officer motioned for her to remain silent. Adrian could smell a setup from a mile away. He suspected either Martha or James West, or both, had orchestrated this to distract and isolate Leila. No, you can't do this, Adrian said, voice rising. She's a mother, and her child is in critical condition. You have no grounds. We're just following a warrant, the officer said. She can post bail and sort this out with a lawyer. Leila's eyes brimmed with tears. She craned her neck to look over her shoulder at Adrian. Noah, please, she whispered. Stay with him. A wave of heartbreak and helplessness washed over Adrian as he watched the woman he once loved, the mother of his child, taken away in handcuffs. Everyone in the hospital lobby stared, some with pity, others with judgment. Adrian's fists trembled with the need to do something, anything, to protect her. But the only power he had left was his medical expertise, and no one needed him. Swallowing the bitter taste of anger, he vowed to free Leila and expose whoever orchestrated this cruel stunt. After Leila's arrest, Adrian juggled two urgent missions, caring for Noah and finding evidence to clear Leila's name. Ezra helped where he could, handling calls to lawyers and gathering hospital records. But it seemed like every path they took hit a dead end. Whispers circulated that the West family was pulling strings behind the scenes. Late one night, Adrian dug through old hospital archives at St. Adelaide's, scanning for anything that could reveal a connection to the false theft charges. A half-burnt file surfaced, an abandoned record labeled, Infant Transfer, Morgan, N. Frowning, Adrian flipped through the brittle pages. It detailed the day Noah was born. He saw that someone, initials MC, had attempted to arrange a private neonatal transfer to a different facility without Leila's consent. The paperwork was never completed, but the attempt was documented. Adrian's heart pounded. MC had to be Martha Cole. She had not only threatened Leila but had also tried to move Noah to another hospital shortly after birth, possibly to hide his existence or coerce Leila into giving him up for adoption. Rage coursed through Adrian as he pictured his mother's cold tactics. She had orchestrated so many of the tragedies in his and Leila's lives. Now she'd let an innocent woman go to jail, possibly to keep controlling the narrative. He slammed the file shut, resolution pulsing through him. This was the missing puzzle piece that could expose Martha's involvement. He needed to show the court that Leila had been a target, that the charges were fabricated. He would not rest until his mother's manipulations were laid bare for everyone to see. The following day, the sun rose on a city buzzing with gossip. Adrian, fueled by anger and love, organized a press conference in front of St. Adelaide's. Word spread quickly through social media, and soon a crowd gathered: reporters, hospital employees, onlookers. Adrian stepped up to the makeshift podium. Microphones and cameras pointed at him. He took a breath, ignoring the frantic texts from Martha and James West telling him to stand down. "I'm Dr. Adrian Cole," he began, voice steady. "Many of you know that I was supposed to be married to Amira West a few days ago. That wedding never happened, not because I don't believe in commitment, but because I discovered I have a son, Noah, who is critically ill. I left my wedding to save his life." A surge of murmurs swept the crowd. Flashes from cameras lit up his face. "You may have heard rumors that the child's mother, Leila Morgan, is a thief. This is a lie, a fabricated charge. And I have evidence that suggests my own mother, Martha Cole, and certain influential people have been working behind the scenes to keep Leila and Noah away from me, from the moment he was born." He pulled out the copied documents from the hospital archives. These records prove attempts were made to forcibly relocate Noah as a newborn without his mother's consent. This evidence, along with threatening letters, points to a calculated effort to erase this child's existence. "I won't stand for it anymore." Gasps and whispers flooded the air. Adrian's face hardened with determination. "I'm calling off any wedding, any arrangement, that ties me to those who would sacrifice a child's well-being for reputation. I am done being manipulated. My son comes first." Across the street, a sleek black car idled, Martha Cole visible in the passenger seat, her face ashen with fury and perhaps a flicker of fear. James West was nowhere to be seen, but his lawyers hovered at the periphery, frantically making calls. The press conference ended in an uproar. Adrian walked away, heart hammering, but feeling an exhilarating sense of freedom. No more secrets. No more half-truths. He had torn down the facade at last. Hours after Adrian's explosive press conference, legal wheels began to turn. Public scrutiny now fell heavily on Martha Cole's actions, as well as on James West's possible involvement. The DA's office announced they would re-examine Leila's arrest for potential misconduct and false evidence. Ezra found Adrian in Noah's room, updating the chart. "Dude, you did it. I think they're reopening Leila's case. The false charges are going to crumble." Adrian pressed a cool cloth to Noah's forehead, relief warring with anxiety. "Good. She doesn't deserve any of this." As if on cue, a nurse poked her head in. "Dr. Cole, there's someone here to see you. She says she's your mother." Adrian's stomach churned. He stepped into the hallway to find Martha Cole, alone. Her normally impeccable hair was slightly disheveled, and there was a desperation in her eyes he'd never seen before. "Adrian," she said softly, approaching. "We need to talk." He crossed his arms, expression stormy. "You mean you want to do damage control?" She pursed her lips. "I was only trying to protect you. Everything I did. You threatened Leila, stole years of my son's life from me, and tried to paint her as a criminal," Adrian hissed. "That's not protection. That's cruelty." Martha's voice quivered. "I didn't want you saddled with a child that would ruin your future. You had so much potential." Anger flashed in his eyes. "Ruin my future? He is my future. You don't get to decide who's worthy of being part of my life." A flicker of genuine remorse crossed Martha's face. "I made mistakes," she whispered. "Please, help me fix this." Adrian shook his head, tears of frustration brimming. I can't fix the past, Mother. Right now, my focus is on saving Noah's life. Whatever legal consequences come your way, you'll have to face them. Martha opened her mouth, but no sound came. Then, for the first time Adrian could remember, she looked truly fragile. She reached out as if to touch his arm, but Adrian pulled back, a silent boundary drawn. Without another word, he turned and walked back into Noah's room, leaving Martha standing alone in the corridor, forced to reckon with the severity of her own actions. Just hours later, Leila was released on bail. Adrian, with Ezra's help, had presented the newly found evidence to the authorities, forcing them to see the glaring holes in the case against her. The false charges unraveled under scrutiny. Leila stepped through the hospital's sliding doors, shoulders hunched, as if expecting more officers to arrest her. But when she locked eyes with Adrian, her expression changed. Relief, gratitude, and lingering sadness filled her gaze. "How's Noah?" she asked immediately. Adrian gently took her hand, leading her down the corridor. "He's stable. But we need to do the surgery soon." Inside the pediatric ICU, they found Noah sleeping peacefully. His monitors beeped at a steadier rhythm now, thanks to the medication stabilizing his heart. Leila gingerly took her seat at his bedside, brushing back his hair. Ezra poked his head in. "We just heard from Dr. Tenbrook. He lands in 4 hours. We're prepping the surgical suite for early tomorrow morning." Leila held Adrian's hand, a tremor running through her. "I'm scared," she admitted. "But I know you and Dr. Tenbrook will do everything to save him." Adrian squeezed her hand back. "We will." For a long while, they sat in silence, listening to the hum of hospital machinery. In that quiet moment, the chaos outside felt distant. What mattered was that, against all odds, they were together, mother, father, and child, united in hope. Morning dawned with a soft glow illuminating the hospital hallways. Dr. Tenbrook arrived, a brisk but confident specialist who quickly reviewed Noah's case and agreed to proceed with the operation. Adrian would assist, bringing his full expertise and paternal determination to the table. The surgical lights were bright, the atmosphere tense. Leila waited in a private lounge, clutching a small stuffed animal of Noah's, tears threatening to spill at any moment. Ezra stayed by her side, offering reassurances. In the operating room, Adrian and Dr. Tenbrook worked meticulously to repair Noah's heart defect. Each minute felt like an eternity, each beep of the monitor echoing in Adrian's ears like thunder. But his hands were steady, guided by both skill and love. After long hours, the procedure concluded. Noah's heartbeat was strong, his vitals stable. A tear of overwhelming relief rolled down Adrian's cheek behind his surgical mask. In the recovery room, Leila rushed to Noah's side as he regained consciousness. The little boy blinked groggily, his eyes eventually focusing on the 2 anxious faces hovering above him. "Mommy? Daddy?" he whispered, his voice weak but clear. Adrian and Leila exchanged a tender look. "Yes, baby," Leila murmured. "We're both here." As days turned into weeks, Noah's recovery progressed steadily. The media frenzy died down, especially after Martha Cole was placed under investigation for her involvement in falsifying documents and threatening Leila. James West faced his own storm of criticism for misusing his influence, and Amira disappeared from the public eye, overshadowed by scandal. In a quiet, sunlit courtyard of St. Adelaide's, Adrian and Leila finally found a moment of peace. Noah sat in a wheelchair nearby, giggling at pigeons pecking around a fountain. "We made it," Adrian said softly, taking Leila's hand. She nodded, eyes glistening. "I think we did." He glanced at their son, heart swelling. "There's so much lost time to make up for, but I promise you, both of you, that I'll spend every day trying to be the best father and partner I can be." Leila leaned her head on his shoulder. "We'll figure it out. Together." No longer a millionaire surgeon trapped by societal expectations, no longer a runaway mother living in fear, Adrian and Leila stood on the threshold of a new life, one built on truth, love, and the unbreakable bond of family. And in that moment, The future felt brighter than it ever had before. The end.